Okay.
I have a song I can sing if you're interested.
We'll have lots of opportunities for that during the campaign, I'm sure. Okay.
Only show tunes.
Yeah, show don't tell. So, I would just want to take 10 to 15 minutes of our precious session time to discuss logistics, and then we can simply start. So, welcome to the game. My name is Ido, and hopefully you're all excited as I am to start this campaign, which is hopefully it will be a long one. I certainly plan for that. This campaign is Theater of the Mind, which means we'll rely on descriptions and the spoken word to describe what's going on. I'll sometimes use Roll20 to show a map or a picture or something like that. I usually don't use dungeon maps or something like that, and I definitely don't use all Roll20 bells and whistles. But we'll see. I might sometimes put a map for you to see. That's I don't know. We'll see. Because it's theater of the mind, and because we don't have cameras, I can't see your body language. I can't see if you're nodding, smiling, crying, whatever. So it's really important for you to be descriptive. Say what your characters do. Say how they behave. Describe whatever you want to describe. And as you probably hear, I'm not a native English speaker, so I might sometimes search for the correct word or blunder while describing a room or a scene or something like that. In this case, you are urged to step in and help me if if I seek the correct word, or if I describe a scene and you don't understand what I'm describing, just say it. And at least in my experience, sometimes just one player understands what I'm describing. So I might actually ask that player to reiterate what I said in better English for the other players to understand. So do feel free to step in and help me with my descriptions. Another point with regards to theater of the mind, and this is very important with regards to combat. Combat in theater of the mind, especially with ranges and positioning, etc. It might get complicated. What I do need from you is to be very specific about your intent. So, for example, let's say I'm describing a room and there's a monster in the room and you want to attack it, but you want to build the attack for, let's say, 2 turns, right? You set it up on the first turn and then you spring the attack on the second turn. And you might think that it might be cool to tell me, the DM, only the first part of the plan, so to surprise me on the second round. I urge you not to do that. I urge you to be very specific about your intent, so we'll all be on the same line and understand exactly what everyone is doing. So I won't ruin your surprise on the second turn. Trust me that I'm on your side, and surprising me, it's fun, it's cool, but I might ruin the surprise by just saying something stupid like, oh no, you can't do that because you're too far away, and since we are not tracking distances and stuff, that might frustrate you and ruin your plans. So be very specific about your intent. So this is about theater of the mind. Any specific questions about that?
Yeah, I have a question. Are we, in the event that, no, that's fine. The only question I really have is, are we using potion misability rules?
Sorry, what was the first word?
Potion misability rules?
Potion misability, what does that mean? Sorry?
Misability? It's a variant rule which some DMs have sprung on me in the past. Essentially, when you drink multiple potions, they can sometimes mix in your stomach and have a reaction.
Okay.
I actually lost a character. He exploded.
Okay, no, I don't use this rule.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So with regards to rules, I basically playing rules light. This means that, since we have very short session length, I don't spend time on advocating rules and searching them. I do have D&D Beyond subscription. I do look up quickly for rules if I need to, but usually I just make a ruling, and then we can discuss it after the game or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, I usually don't spend a lot of time digging through books during the game.
Well, at this time, I'd like to communicate my intent to bull ride a dragon before this game is over.
Oh yeah, noted. What else did I want to say? Okay, regarding rolls, you can roll your dice using Roll20, or you can roll real dice on your table and simply tell me the result. I'm fine with that. I trust you completely. Let's see if I have something else to say about our game. I think I said all what I wanted to say. Yes, one last thing. Even though this campaign is, I'm running a published adventure, right? So this campaign is nothing, it doesn't, let me rephrase that. I did whatever I can to make sure this campaign isn't railroad oriented or isn't linear. Okay, so these are your characters, your choices, and if we take the campaign in a completely different way than that the publisher intended, that's totally fine with me. So just take note of that. These are your stories, and I'm here to simply provide the stage. I think that I'm done. So any questions?
I do have a question actually that I've thought of. What sort of maturity level are we dealing with in terms of mature content, such as violence, gore, sexual content, profanity? What is everyone comfortable with? What is everyone not comfortable with? I'm playing a paladin, so it shouldn't be an issue with me, but I am curious.
Yeah. So my personal preference is PG-13. Okay, so yeah, we can be.
Got it.
Yeah, I usually avoid sexual content at all. But with gore and violence and stuff, that's fine as long as if you are comfortable getting a 13 years old sit in front of this campaign and listen to what we say, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Cool. So maybe we'll start with each one of you. I know that you have published your character backgrounds, and you did a great job of describing your characters, but maybe each one of us will take 30 seconds to up to a minute and simply describe his character, and then we can actually start. Okay, we'll start with you, Ben.
Okay, sure. Hey, everybody. I'll just read the write-up I did for the appearance of my character. I don't want to get too much into backstory prematurely.
Great.
Okay, so youthful and agile Roscoe stands at about 3 feet tall, with suntanned skin, a mop of thick curly brown hair, and hazel eyes, the gaze of which is nearly always averted, staring off into a world that others cannot see. Roscoe wears loose-fitting but well-made garments in hues of dark green and earthen brown. A bright-eyed and inquisitive mouse usually peers from the tunic pocket. His practical, waterproof pack is stitched with a rose on the top flap, the only visible ornamentation on his understated gear. Roscoe carries a sharp, metal-tipped spear with a straight, unadorned shaft. On occasion, he stows the spear and removes an old wooden spoon from his pack, which he shakes repetitively.
Cool. Daniel?
Hey guys, I'll do the same thing. So here is Azael has an oblong face with neutral cheekbones sitting on a well-defined square jawline, accented by a prominent chin. His eyes are deep-set with a set of obsidian-colored pupils that can pierce your soul. This is offset by his dark eyebrows, sitting almost perfectly across his brow, showing a coolness about him. A nose slightly convex rests above his natural pointed full lips. Onyx-colored hair would appear shoulder-length if not held back in a ponytail looking neatly maintained. He stands tall and almost intimidating, enhancing his 6-foot stature even if he is slender with a fair complexion. Covering him is a standard dark tanned leather armor, shouldered by a black-colored hooded cloak. Azael carries a backpack for travel, a sheathed spear, a dagger in his belt, and an ocean blue crystal that hangs from his neck.
Awesome. Mike.
All right, so my character is Sydrian Vanguard, and he's a tall and extraordinarily handsome human youth who appears no older than 16. He has a strong brow and short, wavy blonde hair that's framing piercing blue eyes that seem to smolder with purpose. He's as lean as a whipcord with an athletic build, wearing fabulous steel armor that is wrought with designs of dragons against the backing of a deep blue surcoat and mail that's worked to resemble scales. He has a large, fine steel sword which is strapped to his back, and he tends to regard his surroundings with a confident smile.
Great. Paul?
Okay. Greetings, comrade. The name is Talrashar. You can call me Tal. I am a 6'4" Dragonborn. I am proud of my ancestors. Well, not really. I am proud to be a Dragonborn, but I'm afraid to give you the news of being a chromatic one. But do not fret. I am here for justice, and maybe perhaps revenge. I am clad with metal armor and armed to the teeth with my axes.
Cool. Okay, great. So, just to recap what your small group have been doing in the last couple of, let's say, weeks, you've basically all reached to a small town called Greenest. And basically each of you got there for a different reason, but you all know Governor Nighthill and a local monk named Leosen Erlanthar. And you all have different relations with these two. You're basically given a small room in Greenest Keep. It's a small fort, not very well maintained, and the guy who is running it is a shield dwarf named Escobert the Red. He's has this great red hair curls that are, covering his head, and a great red beard, giving him his name. And you basically were working or collaborating with Governor Nighthill as he is searching for the treasures of an ancient halfling. Her name was Darva Scatterheart. She basically is the one that traveled in these regions a long time ago. She called herself the Queen of the Greenfields, which is the region Greenest is located at. And you were basically traveling to ruins or sites that she, supposedly visited, searching for her treasure. And the agreement with Nighthill is basically whatever you find, if it's gold, that can be used to make Greenest a better place to live in, that gold goes to the city, to the town. But if you find any other interesting treasures, arts or magical items or whatever, you get to keep it. And so far, it's been, somewhat of a lucrative job. You got a room in the keep. You got some food, and this is it basically. So we are starting the campaign at the fall. of 1489 DR. The month is called Marpnoth, and it's the 24th of this month. It's let's say noon, when there's a knock at your door. You're basically, all the four of you are in your room, maintaining and fixing your equipment after your last incursion to the green fields. And there's a soft knock on the door.
We have a shared room?
Yes, you do.
Sydrian is actually dressed down in his common clothing. His armor and his surcoat is hanging up. It's very polished and very well kept. He's actually doing push-ups when the knock comes on the door. He's sweat rolling off of his face, and he stops and glances up.
Azael looks at the door with a suspicious glare. Anybody here expecting someone?
No, not me. He shakes his head, and Sydrian, he gets up and he, wiping the sweat off of his brow, he walks over to the door and opens it up.
Okay. In front of you stands this middle-aged woman. You actually recognize her, Sydrian. Her name is Mirabelle Stormchapel, and she's the healer. She works at the small temple that Greenest has, and she actually looks at you and blushes, and she says, "Oh, I didn't know you are." Yes, and she turns around and waits for you to put something on yourself.
Sydrian smiles. He's actually nude from the waist up, and you can see he's very fit. He's an extraordinarily handsome looking guy. I mean, it just comes off of him, and he smiles. And sorry, and he turns and he fetches his homespun linen shirt, and he slips it on over his top, and he's you can turn around now.
She does so, and she smiles at you all, but her blush is still very visible, even though she is middle-aged. She obviously her looks sometimes linger on you more than usual, Sydrian. She says, I have a small problem, and I thought you might be able to help me.
Well, tell me what it is, and I think we can accommodate you. And he glances around at the others to see what they're doing.
Roscoe, for most of this, is kind of distracted and looking out the window and kind of shaking a wooden spoon back and forth, which he often does to sort of calm himself down. And when she enters the room, when she has this request, I'll ask, "Are you a good person?"
Oh, well, I try to be, I do work in the temple trying to help the townspeople, yes? And she smiles at you, Roscoe. But there's obviously some tension in her smile.
I kind of, I turn around and look back out the window.
She says, I have a small problem. You see, you know old Vanen Swift, right? You all have met him.
And who's Vanen Swift?
I'm writing the name in the chat. So Vanen is basically an old man. He's a carpenter, and you actually didn't have any interaction with him. You only know that his daughter is about to give birth. It's the newest baby that is about to be born in Greenest, and basically everyone are talking about it. So she says, well, yesterday Vanen didn't come to our evening sermon, so Aiden, the priest, went to fetch him. Vanen has this secret project he works on just north of town. And after a couple of hours, well, Aiden returned to the temple, carrying the unconscious Venen. I was very worried. I immediately took them both in, and Aiden, the priest, he was talking nonsense. He was talking about the scent of death. I don't know. Anyway, they both are now unconscious. I spent the entire evening trying to make them tea and rub some herbs on them. You know, I did think that, Venen do tend to drink a lot, but I don't think this is the case.
Sydrian listens to this story with his arms crossed over his chest, a look of concern on his face, and he asks, how long ago did this happen?
Well, it was yesterday's evening, but I only this morning when I woke up and found that they are both still unconscious, I decided to speak to someone. I did go to Leosin, but he was very in a great hurry. He left town. So he just told me to come to you. Maybe you can have a look and see what you can do.
I understand Venen's daughter is with child. She's not still out there, is she? She doesn't stay with her father?
Oh, no. You see, this is the secret. Venen is working to repair the old winery just north of town. When she will give birth, he plans to make it a good house for her. She isn't supposed to know anything about it. So I didn't speak to her. She's at her home, and we better keep this a secret, at least for now.
Sydrian nods, and he turns to look at the rest of his companions. Well, what do you say, boys? Probably no harm in checking it out.
Depends on the payout. So Azael says as he looks at Maribel and does an insight check on her.
Oh yeah, great.
See whether or not she's truthful or if she's hiding anything.
Awesome, roll. Make a roll and let me know how did you do. Okay, so is that a 10?
Yeah, it's a 10.
Yeah, it's a 10.
Okay, so she seems honest about her story. You do feel that she is maybe protecting someone, but you have a feeling it's something to do with Venen being a drunk and nothing more.
I stand up and I pick up my armor and I go,
We best make haste.
Azael looks at her and says, we need all the information before we can do anything. And again, what is in it for us?
Oh, come on, Azael. Life doesn't turn on a coin. Sydrian says in her defense somewhat is he's going to strap on his armor, is preparing to leave and help her.
Azael turns to Sydrian. Well, our expenses isn't exactly cheap. We each have to pay our own way.
out of character, do we get the room for free?
As long as you serve, quote unquote, Night Hill, then yes.
Okay, so Tal will stand up and I will just follow along anyone who's coming. And I go,
Well, my friend, they have provided us with a free roof on our heads. Might as well repay them. Out for respect.
I'll ask Mirabelle. You did Leosin send you?
Well, yes, I went to his house, but he was packing. He seemed very, concerned. He just left town, and he told me that you can probably look at this, small thing. He knows I'm worried, and he knows I get troubled. Maybe they're just drunk. I don't know, but Erdin. He doesn't say those silly things. The scent of death. I don't know. I'm worried.
Sydrian is pulling on his hauberk and he's strapping it up. He finishes cinching up one of the straps and he walks over to Mirabelle and places a gauntleted hand on her shoulder. Don't worry, Mirabelle. I'm sure everyone's fine. We'll head on over there and check it out.
And she looks at Azael and she says, well, I do have some herbs I can share with you. These are very good in case you get an infection or a scratch or if you or if the wound get infected. I think I can maybe pay you with that, but this is all I have really.
Azael looks at her and says, that'll do for now. I'm just here doing a favor for Liaison. We go way back.
Okay. Yeah. Anyone wants to say something?
Oh, where did Liaison go? And also, what does death smell like?
Who's asking what that smells like?
Roscoe.
Roscoe. I go to him and then I do a quick hip turn and I fart and go, that's how that smells like.
Sydrian smirks, shakes his head.
Azael puts his hand on his forehead and shakes.
Roscoe doesn't react, actually.
She says, Leosin left. Someone came for him, and they were discussing something when I knocked on Leosin's hut's door, and he was packing, and he told me to come to you. He said I can trust
Azael
him.
turns to Mirabelle. At the end of this little adventure that you have is going on, we'll be back to talk to you about this. But let's take care of this first task, and then we'll need more information. Before we go, though, is there anything more you can tell us about what happened?
When you say that, she seems a little bit reluctant to, divulge any more information. She kind of, shrugs but she looks guilty, like an 8-year-old who just ate a lot of candies and don't want to tell anyone about it.
Sydrian is a fairly trusting individual, but he's also very perceptive, and he does spot this. And at the change of expression on Mirabelle's face, he speaks up. Mirabelle, is there something else? We really need all the information we can get.
And she looks at all of you, especially Azael, and she says, well, there is the story about the winery, but it's all rubbish, it's legend. It didn't really happen.
Tell us anyway.
Well, a long time ago, I think it was something like 20 years, there was a small family living in the winery, the Martikoffs. But then something happened. Well, what I do remember is that Davian Martikoff came to town and he was mad. He talked a lot of nonsense and he was drunk as hell. He said that his wife and kids are gone. Well, he left town after that, mumbling something about ravens circling the moon, but, he was drunk and he was grieved. I think his wife left him. She took the kids away. But some of the townspeople think that something else happened. I don't believe those stories, though.
Azael continues talking to Mirabelle. Has anybody ever gone to check this out?
Well, Vaynen did. The place did stand a couple of years abandoned. But Vaynen, once his daughter got pregnant, he decided that it will be good for her if he repaired the winery and, give her both a house and her husband something to do instead of working the land. Any trade is, it's a good thing, Selling wines and exporting them, it can make someone very rich.
Was there anything else that Davian has said that could clue us in on what's going on, or has anybody even investigated what has happened prior to Vaynen going there?
Well, yes. I mean, the governor did send people to look and check the place. They found it abandoned. They didn't see anything very special. Well, the wine the wine bottles were broken and everywhere, but that's probably Davian, in his rage when he discovered his wife has left him.
Who are those people that went to go check?
Oh, I don't think they're around anymore, but you can definitely check with Nighthill. He probably remembers who they were.
Okay, I'm good. Any of you guys want to ask any more questions? So you ready to go? I think we should stop by Nighthill and ask him if there's anything else that you might have information on.
Oh, it's probably nothing, Azael. Let's just head over there and check it out. Sydrian strapping on his sword.
She takes a step back and says, I do thank you. I'm at the temple if you need me.
And what god does she worship?
That will be Lathander, if I'm not mistaken. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay. Sydrian nods, and I assume we know the way to this winery.
Yeah, it's basically north of town. There's only one road, so you'll basically pass along the way. Not a problem.
All right, I'll be outside when you guys are ready. And
okay, sorry,
clinking in armor.
Yeah, she works in the temple to Shanti. Not Lathander.
Okay.
Sorry.
But yeah, with that, Sydrian departs the room and indicates that he'll wait for the rest of the group outside the keep.
Okay. Anyone wants to do something before you leave? Cool.
Azael just grabs the rest of his equipment and readies himself, turns to Roscoe and Tal and says, "You guys coming? I just don't like going and not having more information. I like planning my assaults or adventures or anything like that before going."
I like to ask questions. Let's ask more questions.
Azael turns to Tal. "How about you? You in for asking more questions? Getting more information?"
Is that a nod? Because we can't see it.
Paul, you're muted.
Are you guys asking me?
Yes, yeah, you were asked if you want to ask more questions or walk away.
Oh, I thought you were. No. Tal is ready whenever you guys are. He's not very much of a person to ask too much questions here on this event or situation, I would say.
All right, let's meet up with Syndra, and then we can go from there. Maybe he'll come to a change of heart to asking the governor what's going on.
Sorry, can you repeat that last sentence?
I turn to the two, and Azael, he goes on by saying, "We should go talk to the governor and see if there's anything else we can find out about this winery before we go.
Okay.
We should convince Sydrian to do so, although he's ready for action now, which I can respect. But going in without a plan is not a good idea."
So as you are basically having this discussion in front of the door, you actually hear heavy boots on the stone floor, and Escobert comes barging in, escorted with one of his guards, and they discuss some cleaning up to do in the keep's basements, and then they watch all of you just outside the door, and Escobert says, "Well, what's going on here?"
Just checking out something for Mirabelle by the winery.
He says, yeah, make yourself busy. And he departs.
Sydrian smirks and shakes his head.
Okay, so let me know if you want to go discuss things with Governor Nighthill, or you want to simply depart now. It's noon now, so according to what you know about the winery location, it will take you something like 2 hours to get there on foot, which is what you have.
Roscoe feels like he and Azael basically already agreed to go to Governor Nighthill, so he's just going to go. Like, Roscoe is just kind of walking down the street, shaking his wooden spoon. When he passes Sydrian, he's going to say, we're going to go to Governor Nighthill now, and he just goes.
Okay, yeah, so spoon in hand, you can all see the small halfling trots toward Nighthill's office in the keep. I'm guessing Azael is with him. Sydrian, Tal, do you want to join them or wait here or what?
Sydrian is content to wait outside the keep. He's he won't depart without his companions, of course, but honestly, he doesn't take this very seriously at all. It sounds like an errand from a very easily rattled older woman.
Right. Okay, no problem.
I'll join Roscoe.
Okay. So, Sydrian, you stand there outside the room talking to Mirabelle. You obviously have a lot to discuss since she is the healer of the town. So she fills you in with all kinds of gossip, telling you about Linen and how she chose a small outfit for her would-be baby, etc. In the meantime, Azael, Roscoe, and Tal, you all gather in front of Governor Nighthill's office. The door is open, and this man, he's old. He's 70 years old, but he's still strong. Barrel-chested man, but he does seem, available. His door is open. He just sits there with two people from the guard doing a bunch of paperwork. He looks up and says, "Yes, can I help you?"
Good morning. When you set your guards to the winery, did they cut themselves on the broken glass?
He at first he looks confused, but then he remembers who he's talking to, and then he smiles at you. "Oh, you talk about that old winery where Mad Mertikov was living with his wife, yes?"
Yes.
Why are you talking about this place? It's abandoned. No one is doing anything there at all. And I don't think anyone actually cut their feet on the glass, because we all wear boots in our god. It's a thing we do. And he lifts one of his legs to show you his boot, smiling at you.
Azael steps into the conversation and says, "What we want to know is just more information on what happened to Davian all these years ago. If there's anything that was out of place or strange that you might have noticed or had gotten information about."
Well, Davian basically had his wife and two daughters in the winery for ages. They were making actually a very, very good wine. I think their champagne had a lot of success in the streets of Waterdeep, but then something happened. We don't know exactly what. Davian came to town. He was very upset, telling things about his wife. He was shouting that she vanished in the night. Well, he was very drunk. I think I've sent, and he looks up to one of the soldiers who is an old dwarf, and he says, Rozag, who did I send to investigate there? And Rozag looks at him, looks at you, patting his beard, and he says, well, I think you've sent old Bray to have a look. And Nighthill turns to you and says, oh yes, I've sent Bray. Bray is the weaponsmith now. He was a soldier back then. It was 20 years ago. And he just came back, said that the place was abandoned. He made sure to lock the door and just check that everything is in place. And we were basically hoping for either Davian or his wife to return. But that, unfortunately, didn't happen.
Has anybody gone back recently to check out what happened to Venom?
To Venom? Why? What happened to Venom?
You haven't heard?
Heard about what, young man?
Apparently Venom is in a coma of some sorts.
What?
He's not waking up.
What? What is this? Well, someone has to let his daughter know. This is very strange. Why I wasn't notified of this? And he looks at his soldiers who shrug and looks very, very confused.
I'm not sure why you weren't notified.
Well, you do remember that Mirabelle told you that Vanen was working on repairing the winery and that this is a secret. He wants to surprise his daughter once she gives birth.
But recently Venom's been going up there quite a bit. And it just so happens that he had passed out. Nobody knows why exactly.
I see. And I take it that Leosin told you to maybe look into things there?
In a sort of way.
Well, I'm sure it's probably nothing. You see, if Vanen went there, well, Vanen does have an affection to the bottle. Maybe he just went there to brew something for himself. He probably drank himself to a coma. And the dwarf and the other god with him are smiling and smirking.
Do you have a lot of alcoholics in this town?
Unfortunately, no, now that the winery is closed. We do get some shipments from Waterdeep, but not their finest stuff.
I think that's all that we need. Thank you for your time.
Well, good luck on your journey. Please fill me in if you see something interesting.
Azael puts his hand over his chest, fist, and bows, and grabs Roscoe and leaves, returning to the rest of the party.
Okay.
Azael, do we want to ask more questions? Do we want to ask Bray questions? Do we want to ask the unconscious people questions?
I think we're good for now.
Azael and Roscoe, you know what, Tal, also make a perception check as you leave the room.
All of us?
Yeah.
Natural 20, 24.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Still waiting for Tal?
Yeah, just rolling on my sheet.
Okay.
There.
Awesome. So, Roscoe, I take it. Let me just make sure. Yes, Roscoe. You hear Governor Nighthill says to the dwarf, he says, I don't know what about you, but this guy gives me the creeps. And you think he was referring to Azael.
I'll pop my head back in and say, which guy gives you the creeps?
He immediately turns pale, drops a bunch of paper on the floor. Who? What? No, of course not. Yes, you are free now, yes.
I heard you. You said somebody, this guy gives me the creeps. Is it me? Do I give you the creeps?
And he points at the dwarf next to him. No, this guy. And the dwarf kind of goes like, what? And off you go now. And he, shush you outside.
I say, okay, goodbye.
Okay. So you all gather outside the keep. You meet Sydrian there, who is basically engaged in this small talk with Mirabelle.
I approach him and I go, "Excuse us, my friend."
Sydrian glances up. Are we ready?
Azael talks to Sydrian. Yeah, there wasn't much information Governor could give us, so we're going to be as good as we can be. Although there is a weaponsmith, I believe, called Old Bray that could help us out with more information on what happened in the past.
Maybe we'll check it out then. Good work, guys. And he gives you a smile before turning to look at Mirabelle and give her a little nod. Well, it's time to go.
Okay. So you all start your hike north out of Greenest. And you basically enjoy the weather. It's fall, but it's pleasant. It's noon. You can see all the good people of Greenest are working in the fields or traveling the roads between the houses to do the laundry and make dinner, whatnot. As you leave town, you basically leave town north. If you look at the map at Roll20, you can see Greenest over here. And you basically head a little bit to the north toward Beardusk, but you don't cover the whole distance, obviously. It's a hilly, a lot of hills, so you're going up and down, ascend and descend. And after about 2 hours, you do find the winery. It's a small 2-story building made mostly out of stone. And
can I interrupt one? I was sort of confused about something.
Yep.
Did Sydrian say we were okay? Let's go talk to Bray, or did he say okay? Let's go to the winery? I was kind of confused.
Oh, sorry.
He said we might check it out. So I mean, he's, like I said, Sydrian's not taking this terribly seriously. To him, this is an errand. He doesn't have any reason to expect there's real danger.
If you want to, we can backtrack, and of course you can talk with Old Grey.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Because Roscoe, of course, would want to do that.
Okay,
also.
sure. So still at the keep, you follow the noise to the smith's small compartment. He's basically working, fixing locks, fixing any metal, iron, parts or equipment that needs to be fixed. Indeed, you see this man. He's very, very old, not very tall. He does look very gaunt, green eyes. He looks at you with some curiosity. Obviously, you think that he doesn't get a lot of visitors. And he looks at, the group and says, "Well, what can I do for you?"
Azael asks, "I'm looking for someone called Old Bray. Is that by chance you?"
Well, yes, but not not a lot of people call me that, he says with a smile. "What can I do for you? A broken pot? Maybe that great sword of yours?" As he looks at Sydrian.
Did you used to be called Young Bray instead of Old Bray? Also, when you went to the winery, did you cut your feet on the broken glass?
Winery? Young Grey? What you talking about?
We wanted to ask you about the winery you went to go inspect all those years ago. About Davian Montekov?
Oh, yes. Well, that was a long time ago. Why are you asking a lot of questions about that goddamned winery? You know it's full of ghosts.
What makes you think it's full of ghosts?
Well, Davian's wife didn't go and vanished out of her own. She loved him. And his daughters, they loved him too. But he drank a lot. I think he murdered them. Buried them someplace in the yard or in the basement.
That's a serious accusation.
Well, and he looks at you, and then he takes a step back and raises both of his dirty hands. Well, obviously I didn't see anything. I did examine the field, and I did look into the basement. I didn't see anything, but he was mad, you know. He was mumbling a lot of nonsense about the moon and about ravens and about whatnot.
Can I roll an insight check about that?
Yes.
Yeah, Sydrian is going to roll insight as well. He's studying this blacksmith and trying to suss out, where he's coming from.
Okay.
19.
Yep. So Old Grey, he's saying, okay, doesn't matter. What did you want to say?
Well, I will just wait a moment until you. 19 insight. I wonder what Sydrian knows.
Okay. So Sydrian, you suspect, at least according to how this man spoke about Davian's wife, that maybe he was, well, let's say, moved about her disappearance more than you think a guard should be.
You seem awfully concerned about the disappearance of his wife.
He sits down and puts his hands on his chest. That was a long time ago, and she's gone now. None of it important.
Well, it might be important. We're actually heading out there today to check things out. Mirabelle, the priestess over at the Temple of Shantea, she told us a story about Vane and Swift coming back from that place. Apparently he had run afoul of something. We're not sure what happened.
Vane, that old fool, what did he do in the winery? Did he brew something again? Last time he nearly got himself blind because of his hobby.
Apparently he was talking about the smell of death.
The smell of death? I don't know. That place has been abandoned for nearly 20 years. I don't know what lurks inside of this place. I don't know, maybe some deer died inside, or a rat, or whatnot. And then he thinks for a minute, and then he says, "Oh, I know. It's probably the wine. There are huge fermentation vats in the winery. They were full of wine when I left. Wonder what 20 years in a fermentation vat, an open one at that, would do to a wine. Will probably smell and stink like death inside."
Did you see any ghosts? What do ghosts smell like?
And he looks at you and says, "Don't touch anything. Just move aside. Don't touch. It's dangerous." And he tries to push you out of his room, of this chamber.
Okay, I don't resist.
Just stand there, boy. Now, if you don't have any more important questions, let me get back to my work.
Did you see any ghosts? What do ghosts smell like?
And he again sits down and looks at Sydrian, Tal, and Azael. And he kind of rolls his eyes.
I don't think we have anything else.
Yeah,
Sydrian looks over at Roscoe. I think it's time for us to go, fellas.
He gives the blacksmith an apologetic smile. "Thank you for your time," and turns to leave.
Okay. So, as I said, noon, you're basically leaving, traveling north, going up and down some hills. And you indeed reach this old winery. It's a two-story building made of stone, and you see that it's surrounded by bushes and trees. Obviously, this place I've seen a lot of neglect. When you approach it, you can see across the front wall of this building, you can see a loading dock. It's open, so you can basically see barrels, stand there on a small balcony, and there's a raised wooden walkway that runs along the walls. So think about it as a room with, all the walls intact except of the front wall, which is open, kind of like a place to insert a wagon and then load barrels onto it. You do see a wagon there, but it's broken and most of the beams are rotten. And there is a so-called front door, but it seems barred with an iron, metallic stripe that was bolted to the walls.
But you said the loading area is open, correct?
Yes. So as you stand there, I mean, you're not specifically or exactly there yet. You're standing something like, 100 feet from it, surrounded by trees and bushes, and you just watch this desert pit building. You do hear a strange noise coming out from the west side of the building. It sounds like, and there is a strong scent of something acidic all around you.
Sydrian,
Which side was that?
Sorry, what was the question?
What side did the noise come from?
West. So you are standing, looking at the front door, facing north, and that noise was coming from the west. Still very close to the building, but you don't see exactly what. The building is quite large. You don't see exactly what lies to the west of it.
So, combining the acidic smell and the chittering, Sydrian, he gets his hand up, which is on his sword, which is strapped to his back, and he looks at his companions. Hold 1 minute, and he holds up a hand, and he looks at the rest of them. I could be wrong, but that sounds like an Enkeg. My mentor and I ran into a few on our road, but Cerzera, she always took care of them. But they are big and they are mean.
Well, what should we do about it?
Sydrian, what's an NK?
Well, it's a big subterranean bug. It burrows around. Usually the farmers leave them alone since they increase the crop yield, but he glances over at Tal. You feel like taking point, big man?
Is that a dare?
He grins. Maybe.
I whip out my weapons and I go,
First one to kill with.
wait, out of character, do we see this creature?
You don't see anything. Think about it this way: you stand facing this building, and to the left of you, as you are, this place is covered with bushes, trees. You can hear the noise, but you don't see anything. This building is too big for you to actually see what's on its left side. So maybe there's something there, but you can't see it. You need to walk and have a look if you want.
Roscoe would like to go forward and sort of back flat against the building and kind of stealth carefully and peek around the corner.
Okay. In this case, make a stealth check. You all see Roscoe, very lightly trots with his back to the wall and starts moving to the west.
Yeah, Sydrian's not going to let him go alone. He is going to follow Roscoe, but he's going to stop about 10 yards off.
Okay. Okay. Roscoe, make a roll. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you're hot with the dice today. Awesome. So, quiet as a mouse, and holding one, you basically rub your back against the wall, and approach the west wing of the building. For a brief moment, you stop as you pass by a window. It's very dirty, but you can still see inside. If you just glance, what you do see, not a lot of details, but you can see that the walls from the inside are covered with strange marks. You think this might be dried up blood or, dung or whatever. But, well, it's not exactly dried up. It's still dripping, but not very, very fresh. So probably here for a day, maybe even more. At the point where you get to the west wall of the building, your little pet starts to squirm. He doesn't like the way you are headed. What do you do?
Well, I think I trust Nibbles' instincts by this point. Yeah, I have a mouse named Nibbles. So, yeah, I will just retreat and make my way back to the group and sort of try and comfort Nibbles and sort of make sure he stays in my pocket.
Okay.
What'd you see?
Well, the inside of the house is gross. There is dripping blood or poop or something else on the walls. And Nibbles got scared, so I'm here.
Sydrian narrows his eyes and looks concerned, looking back before looking at Tal. Well, what do you say, big guy? Straightforward and brutal?
Oh, I was muted. I go, ladies first, my friend.
Sydrian laughs, and he turns and he marches off confidently in the direction of the winery.
Okay. So, as I said, you do see the loading dock, and there is a wooden door that is barred with an iron stripe that's bolted to the walls next to it. There are two windows, small ones, very dirty, from which you can peek. What do you do?
Sydrian, he leads the way, and he heads towards the loading dock since that's already open.
Okay. Okay, so as I said, you do see a wagon parked in the loading dock. There are 3 barrels on top of it, but the wood and the wagon are basically in shambles. There is a raised wooden walkway that runs along the walls, and there is, if you peek inside, you do see a hole in the ceiling, and there's some sort of a crane there with ropes and hooks, probably to load, full barrels into the wagon. But everything is rotten and in shambles. You do see a small door to the west.
Is the sound coming from the door?
Nope. Once you went to the loading dock, the loading dock is basically to the east. So the noise went fainter. So whatever that was making that noise is probably on the west side of the building, and you are on the eastern side of it.
Well, since that door is heading to the west, that seems a natural way to head. So Sydrian's going to head towards the door.
Okay. It's closed at the moment, but there is a handle. You can open it if you want to.
Yeah, he'll grab the handle and pull on it.
Okay. So the door creaks as it's opened, and again you see a corridor that leads deeper into the building and into this very, very big room. At this point, I need to know: are all of you there, or is it just Sydrian and Tal?
Azael's been following at a somewhat of a distance to kind of keep behind, so he can observe everything that's going on as we are walking through.
Okay. So all of you do notice that as soon as you, Sydrian, opened the door, the walls of the corridor, it's a very narrow one, are indeed covered with, well, basically shit and blood and probably the internal organs of something. They're all smeared on the walls. As I said, they do look fresh, but not like 2 minutes fresh. They probably are there on the walls for a day or something like that.
Sydrian recoils and looks disgusted by what he sees. He is going to pause for a moment and close his eyes and whisper, "King of Justice," and open his eyes. And when he opens his eyes, they blaze with a platinum light as he peers down the hallway. I'm going to use my divine sense. It allows me to sense the presence of any celestial, fiend, or undead, and also detect if an area has been desecrated.
Okay, so this place has definitely been desecrated. You're not sure in the name of who or what god, but you don't sense any fiends or undead around. What you do see as you peek through the corridor is this huge room, basically containing four enormous wooden casks. These are the fermentation vats probably mentioned by Old Grey. And these casks are huge. These are, something like 10 feet wide and something like 15 feet tall. So this is basically a very, very big fermentation vats, and there are iron stripes around those, and the wood seems wet, as if maybe there is something inside of the vats still. You can see a wooden staircase basically extending from the corridor that you're taking, which goes up to a balcony that surrounds this huge room. And you think that the balcony leads to more rooms on the second floor of this building.
How fresh do the organs and blood on the walls look?
So make an investigation check.
All right. 15.
Okay. You think that these were smeared in the last 24 hours, and they were done so in a way that resembles a pattern or maybe even a rune, but you don't identify it.
Sydrian narrows his eyes and he steps forward into the corridor, and he speaks back to his companions while keeping his eyes forward. Whoever did this recent. And he's going to study the walls, the patterns. I'd like to make a religion check to see if they're significant in any way.
Okay.
Azael pushes forward into the group, into the corridor, and seeing this, he does an Arcana check.
And while they're doing that, I want to make myself useful and keep on the lookout.
So just a minute. First, Azael, you make your check. Kind of recalling ancient runes that you have studied and looked into. You think it's some sort of a degraded symbol of the god Leogaz. It's an Underdark entity.
Azael turns to the group and says, "This looks like a marking of Leogas, an Underdark entity."
Basically,
the Underdark.
Basically this reptilian horror that lurks there. Obviously, this place has been turned into a temple of a sort for this creature. At this point, I need you all to make perception checks. You know what? No, I'll have your passive perception. If you can each tell me your scores.
My passive is 14.
13.
14.
Okay. So you don't see anything, but suddenly you hear something bubbling from one of the fermentation vats, the one that is closest to you. So there are four fermentation vats basically spread in a row in the room, in the middle of the room. You are closest to one of them, and you can hear something bubbling inside of it.
Maybe that's the champagne that they spill on the streets in Waterdeep.
Sydrian heads down this hallway and into the vast room with the vats. You said there was a staircase which leads up.
Yep.
So he's going to take that staircase and see if he can get a vantage point to look into the vats.
Okay. So you walk up the staircase, and you can definitely hear the wood creak under your feet. As soon as you get to, let's say, something like 2 feet below the actual balcony, something lunges at you from the balcony. You didn't see it before because it was laying on its belly. And all you see, and all of you guys, what you see, is this reptilian creature that simply charges Sydrian and collides straight at him. And at this point, I need two things. First, Sydrian, make a dexterity saving throw, and all the other guys make an initiative roll.
13.
Okay. So with the 13, this creature basically collides straight at you, and it manages to push you and himself straight into one of the fermentation vats. And from your vestige, just before you both plunge into it, you can see that it's full of dark bubbling liquid. So there's this big splash as the both of you just plunge into the fermentation vat. And this is it. So initiative, let's see. Ben. So Roscoe on a 12. Azael on 15. Tal on 8.
Would you like me to roll initiative as well?
Yes. That was 3 for Sydrian. Okay. Just a moment. Two. Okay. So, Azael, you see your friend basically being pushed into this fermentation vat. That black goo that inside of it basically spills outside, and then you can smell the scent of death. Whatever is inside of this vat, it isn't wine or anything else. Black ichory stuff that indeed smells like death. You hear more noises around you, and as you look around, you can see on the balcony 2 more of these reptilian creatures. They stand up, seems to be holding some sorts of clubs or spears, and they rush at you. What do you do? You're muted.
Where am I exactly in position to them?
So
Is there any of my comrades around me?
yeah, so think about it this way. You just entered the room, so you're all huddled on its eastern wall. With Sydrian, basically, he just headed inside to the middle of the room and climbed the stairs to be pushed into one of the fermentation vats. So you are all standing basically in line next to the eastern wall.
The vat that Sydrian fell into, how strong does it look?
So it's a thick wooden vat with iron stripes on it, but you can definitely try to break it or smash it. but it doesn't look that fragile. You think it holds a very large amount of liquid, so it's probably strong enough to hold that.
Okay, I will go ahead and make an attack on one of the creatures.
Okay, so you basically turn around with facing north, and these are scaly reptilian creatures that stand on the balcony, something like 20 feet above you. So how do you attack them? A ranged attack, or what do you do?
It'll be a ranged attack. I'll be using my Eldritch Blast to attack the closest creature.
Okay, and you feel that they were. You didn't spot them because as they came around and revealed themselves to you, you can see that their skin is basically changing patterns and color to match that of their surrounding. So they were clearly hard to spot. Okay, so make your attack. Okay, awesome. So your blast explodes into one of them, and this creature is hurled back. What's the damage?
It is. Just looking at it, it's what? It says 10.
10. Okay. Great. Okay, so this creature is being smacked back, and you can definitely hear its body crash on the stone wall behind him, and there's this small hiss that comes out of its lips, and you don't see it anymore. You're not sure if it's dead or not.
At this time, I'll yell at Tal. Says, "Tal, see if you can get Sydrian out." I think that'll be the end of my turn.
Okay, Roscoe, what do you do?
The creature that is still there, does he look like he is going to be advancing toward us, or does he look like he's kind of just bracing himself on the balcony and getting ready to throw something at us?
You think that he is about to throw himself at you.
Okay. Is there a lot of stuff laying around in the room? Like,
Yes.
are there barrels in the corner and stuff
Exactly.
like that?
Exactly.
Okay. So, I will take out a knife, and I will go and try and hide behind in a pile of stuff, and ready my action to throw my knife at the thing if and when he jumps down.
Okay, great. So make your hide check. As you find a couple of barrels, you position yourself behind them. Okay. Great. So you just wait there to see if this creature throws himself at you, ready to hurl your dagger at him. Great. Tal, what do you do?
So, am I able to help out Sydrian while he was being tackled? Like, can I rush in and attack the reptilian creature?
So you have one reptilian creature who basically tackled Sydrian and went with him into the fermentation vat. You don't see either of them. There was one creature on the balcony to the north that was hit by Azael blast. You can't see that creature also. And there's another one on the balcony preparing to jump straight at you. I mean, at you as a group. You can only see him.
Can I do I have enough movement rush in to catch him up?
So you have two options. Basically, you can quickly ascend the stairs and then maybe attack it with a ranged weapon, or you can try and jump to grasp at the balcony and push yourself up. Then you'll basically be standing next to it.
And oh, that's my action to jump to that spot.
No, that's
Correct?
basically your move. So
Okay, then I will jump in.
Okay, so make a strength check. Just making sure strength athletic, making sure you
Athletic.
can push yourself up. So yeah, you manage to stand up and face the creature. You do see the creature that Azael blasted. That guy is sprawled on the floor trying to get up, but obviously dazed from the attack. And the other one is, fixed on the people on the group down below. You can still charge it if you want.
Okay, so as I jump in, I use that momentum as I land, roll, and get up from the jump, and I swing my 2 hand axe on the feet.
Okay. So okay. So the creature basically manages to jump, since his turn is right after yours.
I have another.
Oh yeah, so do it.
Offhand. So does 12 hit?
Oh no! So you basically wave your both your axes, but this creature manages to jump just before you manage to land the blow. So you are still there on the balcony as this creature jumps. At this point, I need Roscoe. You wanted to do something if this creature jumps over? Yeah. Okay. So a 16 definitely hits, and the dagger plunged right into this creature's chest.
Oh, I misrolled. How do I do damage? Oh, here we go.
Click the name. There you go.
Okay, great. So 7 damage. So the dagger buries itself up to the hilt in this creature's chest, and it hisses. But then it lands crashing on top all of, well, not all of, but we do have, wait. So we do have Azael, and basically that's it, right? Sydrian is in the vat, Tal is up, and Roscoe is hiding. So this creature basically lands on top of Azael. He doesn't hit you because the dagger took some of its momentum away. But Azael, I needed to make a Constitution saving throw, as this immensely foul smell basically engulfs you as this creature stands next to you. That's not very good. So you so you inhale, even though you're trying not to, you inhale some of the stench in. You are basically poisoned until the start of this creature's next turn. So you have a disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks. Okay. Whoops. Poisoned. Okay. Sydrian, you and another creature that you cannot see are basically fighting or wrestling at the bottom of the fermentation vat. I need to make a strength check, as this creature is basically trying to drown you inside.
Natural 20.
Okay, great. So you manage to push this creature out of reach. Still, everything is black, but your feet are touching the fermentation's vat lower part, so you think you can push yourself up and try to climb out. Do you want to do that?
What is the temperature of this liquid? What's the viscosity of it? What am I experiencing?
So it's like being drowned in oil. So far you managed not to taste it, but it's probably a stew made of the internal organs of something, but you're not sure what.
Okay, so Sydrian is furious. I mean, the last thing we saw is he went over into the vat and plunged into this liquid. He sank like a stone because he's wearing all this armor. Yeah. The last thing you saw of him was an almighty cry as he wrestled with this creature and vanished. he is actually not going to push this creature away.
Okay.
He's going to try and turn the tables on him and overpower him and grapple him and drag his ass out of this vat.
Awesome. Great. So yes, let's. Interesting. So you find him still with your eyes closed. You seek it with your hands, and you manage to get hold of him. I need you to make another, basically a strength athletics check, contested with the creature's check. So make another one.
All right. 15.
Okay, so you manage to get hold of it, and you're both basically locked in this hug inside of this liquid. You want to try and push it out?
Yeah, Sydrian, as soon as he gets a hold of him, he's actually going to punch this thing in its body or its head, any approximation he can get of it, to stun it long enough so he can wrap his arm around it and push with his legs up off the floor of this vat and reach up with his other arm to grab the edge of the vat to pull them both up.
Awesome.
And basically throw the both of them out of the vat while he's still holding on to this creature. So that they come tumbling out of the side.
Yeah.
So I'm essentially going to use my grapple action to drag him out.
Okay. So I need you to make another strength check. So you basically grapple him so you can push him with you, but I need you to make a strength check to see if you can get out of the slippery vat with him in your arms. So that's going to be difficult, but you might be able to pull it off with a high enough roll. Oh yeah, awesome. So with a 23, you indeed manage in inhuman power. You can all see Sydrian, or basically, you know what? You describe what the characters see.
Yeah. I mean, what you see is, he was gone, and it looked really bad. But all of a sudden, from the surface of the vat, Sydrian explodes, and he takes a huge breath as he's dragging this creature out, and his face is narrowed in fury, and black oil is streaking his hair and running down his face, and he goes, and he pulls the lizard thing and himself bodily over the side of the vat, and they both hit the ground with a wet thud with the oil running off of them, and he's got his arm locked around this creature's neck.
Awesome. So with that, Azael, what do you do?
Well, now Azael has this disgusting creature in front of him, causing him some poison problems.
Yep.
So he does, with a wrenched and disgusted look on his face, prepares the arcane Eldritch Blast. As you see the glow from his hands start to illuminate and release it upon this creature.
Okay. Roll your attack. Awesome.
Ooh, another crit.
Yeah.
That's with disadvantage, right? So I have to roll again?
Yeah.
Oh no, with disadvantage, consider the second roll.
Oh, the second
the
roll
second
is the
number.
distance. Okay, so with the 15, you do manage to hit it. Let me just make sure. Yeah. Okay, so your blast manages to get through its defenses, and the blast sends him backward, and he smacks against one of the fermentation vats. What's the damage on that?
I don't think that's right. Let me reroll for damage. We're going with the 16, right?
You rolled the 15 to hit, and now I need your damage on the Eldritch Blast.
Yeah, you click the Eldritch Blast name in the chat, and it'll come up with damage.
Yeah, I'm not sure how this works. 1 second.
You can mouse over the words Eldritch Blast in the
On the
chat,
chat.
and then left click on it.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, so this creature crashes near the fermentation vat, and it looks dazed. You still cough a little bit, but now that the creature is a little bit farther away from you, you feel somewhat better. Roscoe, what do you do? Oh, unless Azael, you want to move or reposition yourself or something.
Let me move away from them.
Okay.
So I'm already out of range, right? So I'll just move back some more to keep my distance.
Okay, so you position yourself at the next to the door that leads to the loading dock. So you are at the northern eastern corner of the room. Roscoe.
So the one that Sydrian has,
Yep.
is it like kind of on the floor?
Yes.
Lying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're both prone. I've got him grappled.
Oh, okay. So, because I'm trying to think, which one am I going to run up to? So I'll brandish my spear with both hands, and I will charge forward to, I think probably to help Sydrian, because I will feel like he's just been through a lot. Yeah, run up and attack.
Okay.
Try and stab him in the stomach, because I'm a little bit inspired maybe by the intestines on the walls.
So if you get closer than 5 feet within it, you get an advantage on your roll. Otherwise, you'll get a disadvantage because he's prone.
Okay, I want to go right up to him. Right up
Okay.
to him and plunge my spear into his belly.
So do that.
I suppose 20 hits.
Oh, yeah. And 5 damage. Great.
And I will make, once I'm there, I'll sort of try and, maybe the hole in his abdomen where my spear went in, I will try and give like a punch at
Okay.
that weakened point with my
Yes.
bonus action.
Yes. Okay, 17 still. Oh, it's the 23 because you have advantage. And okay, so you basically, spear punch him, and you hear bones cracking, and black ichory goo basically, spurts out as you, blast him with your fist. So the walls are covered with blood, shit, and now this goo.
Yeah, as Roscoe runs up to attack this thing, Sydrian is actually going to roll onto his back
Oh, yeah.
and pull it up so that Roscoe can get a better shot at it.
Oh yeah. So Roscoe, you hear bone snap, and the creature falls limply on the floor, clearly dead.
Oh, good. Also, as a free action, as I go, can I button my pocket so that Nibbles doesn't run away?
Yeah, sure, you do.
Thank you.
Okay, Tal, what do you want to do?
The creature is still in front of me, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I missed twice earlier, I will roar in draconic fashion and again channel my anger towards this creature.
Okay,
25 to hit
definitely hits.
for 9.
Okay. Your second attack?
No, not today.
Okay, so you manage to open this nasty gash across its abdomen, and also from the momentum of the attack, the creature basically falls down the rail, falls down from the balcony. Basically, tries to grab the balcony or to save himself from falling hard on its head or something like that. But it's currently down and prone. You want to do anything else before I move to his turn? You still got to move.
I'll stay here.
Okay. So what you see is that this creature is basically standing up and running below the staircase into a door that is set in the southern wall. It opens it and disappears from view inside of this chamber.
Can I use a free action to let the group know that one of them is running away?
Yep.
Okay. I'll do that then.
Okay, and the third one, just behind you, is doing the same. He's basically shook himself out of dizziness and ran there as well. Sydrian and Roscoe, you get opportunity attacks if you want to hit him before he reaches the door.
Okay. So Sydrian, after Roscoe finished him off, Sydrian he rolls the body off of him, and he, you're not so tough, he says to the corpse as he reaches up and he glances up, and he seems cognizant of this thing running past him, and he suddenly, his hand whips up and grabs the handle of the greatsword sheathed on his back, and with a ring of steel unsheathes it to try and swing at his legs.
Okay, do it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Awesome. So that was a natural 20?
Yeah.
Whew.
Yep, natural 20, so it does another 2d6.
It rolls automatically, right?
It did.
It didn't do the crit damage though. Oh no, it did. Okay, so 12 damage.
Okay, great. So your sword flies and basically severs both of this creature feet. It lands on the floor, twitches, and goes limp, obviously dead.
Yeah, Sydrian, he I mean, it was a spectacular blow. He just severed both of his legs, and he's still kind of exhausted from his wrestle in the vat, and he reaches up with his gauntleted hand, he wipes his face off of this oil off of his face, and he that was easy. He's trying to like pull himself up.
Okay, you all still see the open door through which the one of the creatures fled. What do you want to do? We're basically out of combat.
Azael turns to Sydrian with a look of respect and says, "That was incredible."
Yeah, Bahamut was with me. He says, giving a faint smile, although he is covered in this oil. I mean, this shit has ruined his surcoat, his armor's glistening in it. But he, nonetheless, I mean, dripping. It's like dripping off of him as he stands up and hefts his sword up and looks around. Everyone okay?
When I see the guy run past, I was about ready to spear him, and then his legs were sort of cut out from under him. And but I know that the other one went through, so Roscoe will run through the door, dashing after the one who is escaping, and he say, "My name is Roscoe. What's your name?"
So Roscoe, you dash into the room. You find yourself in something that looks like a glass blower's workshop, but the immediate thing that catches your eyes is a very dirty staircase that leads down. You are quite sure the creature went there.
Azael, seeing this, carefully falls behind.
Okay. So as you descend slowly and carefully downstairs, indeed you find yourself in a wine cellar. But what immediately catches your eyes in this large room, basically there are two shelves filled with ancient bottles that some of them looks intact, some of them are broken with their content, long ago evaporated. The thing that catches your eyes in this very dark room, but there's still some illumination from above, is a newly dug tunnel. It looks like think of a rabbit hole that was enlarged. One of the walls, basically the stones have crumbled. You can see this tunnel leading deep underground. It's wet, like it was dug from displacing mud. And you do see some crude beams supporting this tunnel, like it was dug, but by creatures who are not very crafty.
Is Azael down there already?
Yeah.
Did he reach there?
We can assume you all are.
Yeah, Sydrian called for everyone to follow Roscoe as he ran after Roscoe.
Yeah. Roscoe, what do you do?
I am just dashing in the direction, not really paying much attention to the surroundings. But I only have, I have little legs, and my speed is 25, so I'm easy to catch up with.
Okay. So yeah, you all look into this at this room, obviously looking at the source from which these creatures crawled inside. What do you do?
It's clearly a nest of some kind.
I'm gonna make a
Sydrian
perception
says.
check.
Yeah, definitely. What are you searching for?
Seeing if there's anything strange or sounds or anything out of place. Maybe I can sense something.
Yeah. Okay, so with the 14, basically what you make out is the layout of the room. You basically see wooden pillars and beams that support the ceiling that is made out of wood. The place is very cold, and you can definitely smell that disgusting death-like scent billowing from that muddy tunnel. You do see some broken glasses on the floor, and the floor is basically covered with this thin mist, like but it's you think it's due to the cold and to the moistness of this place. And as I said before, you can see two shelves. They are standing in the middle of the room. One of them is filled with ancient bottles. The other one is basically filled with broken ones.
Azael, go ahead and approach these bottles and just start taking a look at them. And while he's going over there, he says, I kind of smell the same smell I sent before, as he kind of has this reaction to it as if he wanted to throw up, but he didn't. And he just goes to the table and starts looking around.
Okay.
Sydrian is looking into this hidey hole that they seem to have dug, this tunnel. Is there a light source in there?
No. So as you crouch and you basically, look into this tunnel, you can see that it's muddy. It's like half your size, so you'll need to crouch to, look inside. And there are some beams that are placed in the tunnel to make sure that the ceiling doesn't collapse, but these looks like amateurs work. The bottles have labels, and you can see most of them are covered with the label that reads Purple Grape Mash number 3, and others are labeled Red Dragon Crush. You don't see any champagne labels.
Roscoe was going to dash down the tunnel, but if it's completely dark, instead I will take out a torch and light it.
Okay.
And look at the ground to see if there are super, super fresh reptilian footprints in the mud.
Yeah. So as you crouch and light the torch, you kind of wave it in front of you to look at the mud inside the tunnel. You can see that it's going deeper underground. It's like a steep slope. As you do, something grabs you, like the mud itself grew limbs. You are being held, and all of you guys, you can see Roscoe just being pulled and sucked into this small tunnel.
Sydrian immediately springs into action. He sheathes the sword on his back and plunges into the tunnel after Roscoe.
Okay, so you get ready to dash after your friends, but what happens we'll discover in our next session.
Oh no! Nice cliffhanger.
Cliffhanger, yep.
It's like half of Sydrian's body is outside of the hole.
Exactly.
Enjoy the view.
Yeah. Okay, guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely did. And we'll see what happens in our next session, which should be
Absolutely.
next Friday, right?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Okay.
What kind of experience award are we looking at?
So I'll basically calculate that and send you probably through Roll20.
Okay.
I'll open a post there and something, and we can track it there. I also send the handout with the NPC names, so you can track these as well.
Oh.
All right, excellent.
Okay. Anyone wants to say something before we wrap this up?
Can I request an extra handout so we can write down that wine that who grabbed? Was it Roscoe who grabbed it, or was Azael who grabbed the wine?
So you want to hand out for what? For simple notes and stuff?
Yeah, so just a group treasury
yeah, sure,
or a
sure.
group note thing.
Okay, no problem. Group notes. We'll do it. No problem.
Yeah, I like that idea. So, because I was actually trying to take some notes during the session while you were sort of name dropping different people in the town, but I didn't because I wasn't sure where to put it. So that would be good.
Yeah. Okay. I'll make it so. Great. Anything else?
No, I just very much enjoyed the game. Yeah, you're really great DM. I had a really good first impression, and I'm looking forward to continuing.
Awesome. Great. Glad to hear.
Yeah, I had a
Yes,
good
I
time. Nice meeting you all also.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay.
Oh,
So yeah. So this is it, guys. Up till next Friday. Do you mind if I upload this session's recording to my YouTube channel?
Oh, I don't mind at all.
Okay. Great. So we'll have something to remember when we're old and gray.
All right, excellent.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend and have a great.
Yeah,
week
thanks. It
after
was a
that.
great session.
Great.
yeah, thank you.
All right, later, guys.
Bye bye.
Have a good one, guys.
Later.